Hi, I'm Kira, welcome to my channel. I was going to wait to film this video until like the last week of December, but I had the motivation to film it right here, right now. So we're doing that. It is currently December 4th, and I'm about to go through all of my books and unhaul as much as I can, be as brutal as I possibly can, because I'm running out of space. So that's gonna be the first half of this video, and in the second half, I'm gonna go through and tell you every single book that's on my physical TBR at the moment, because I did this video last year, or the end of last year, beginning of this year. So I think it would be fun to see how many books on my physical TBR I read / got rid of, and how many I'll be starting 2025 with. We're gonna get started with the book unhaul, because I desperately need more space. I do have a little bit of space on this TBR shelf because there's some decorations and stuff that don't need to be on the shelf, but I want to keep them on the shelf, so I need more room on my other shelf. I have two bookshelves. It's been a while since I've posted a video. I think this is the first video I'm posting since April, maybe even March. I can't remember, honestly. In July or August, I think I got this Billy bookshelf from IKEA. That's a new addition. It's now my TBR shelf mostly, except for this shelf right here at the top is my Lauren Asher collection, because it takes up almost an entire shelf and I didn't have space for it on my other bookshelves. And then I have two bookshelves sandwiched together to make it look like it's one big bookshelf, and those are filled with all the books I have read, minus the Lauren Asher books, and a couple books on a shelf up here off screen that you can't see yet. So I have three big bookshelves plus one small shelf to go through today. I'm going to start with the red books because I think there might be less that I'm going to get rid of than the TBR books. So we're going to start over there. Here's an overview of this shelf here. These are all red books. I do have slightly an idea of books on this shelf that I want to get rid of, but otherwise I'm just going to go along, see what there is. Not getting rid of those. This first shelf is all my Addicted series and then my Ali Hazelwood books. I think I talked about this last year when I did this video. I would get rid of Checkmate because I gave this 1.5 stars, but I want to keep all my Ali Hazelwood books because first of all I love the cover, and like, I don't know, I just feel weird getting rid of one of them from like an author that I have a bunch of books of where I like the majority of their books. And then last month I read Not in Love and I also gave it 1.5 stars. So I would get rid of these two, but I love the covers and I just want to have every Ali Hazelwood book on my shelf for some reason. Maybe at some point I'll get rid of them, but that point's not this year. I promise I'll be more brutal with other ones. You'll see in a second. I will be splitting up at least 2 series. Moving on down here, this is like small town sports romance. Nothing I want to get rid of. Mainly, I'm getting rid of books in the dystopian, sci-fi, and thriller sections later on, but I'm just going to go through and make sure there's nothing in romance I want to get rid of either. The shelf, Abby Jimenez keeping. The 2 Tessa Bailey books that I've read and liked keeping. I could get rid of this. Love at First Sight by Annie E. Collins. I could get rid of it, but I don't really want to. I brought it to me when I was visiting my bestie in Hawaii, and she actually read it when we went to the beach every day and hung out there. So she read it there, and then I read it on the plane ride home. So like, there's that attachment to it that makes me not want to get rid of it. So I think I'm gonna keep it for now. Nothing else really, I think. I think this is good up here. I don't need the space up here yet. Moving down one shelf, I'm thinking of getting rid of The Bodyguard. Did I annotate it? If I didn't annotate it at all, oh no I did. Okay, I was gonna say if I didn't annotate it at all, I will get rid of it, but it's annotated, so I feel like I'll hold on to it for a little bit longer. Emily Henry keeping, Sarah Adams keeping. Megan Quinn, I just recently read Royally in Trouble, which is the sequel to Royally Not Ready, and gave it 1 star, but I'm just keeping it because I have all these books and it's the sequel to something, so I'm keeping it for now. Nothing here I want to get rid of on this corner. Elle Kennedy books, keeping my Christina Lauren for now, keeping my Julia Olivia. Then over on this shelf we have literary fiction and young adult. This is where we're going to start getting rid of some stuff, okay? Over there's my Taylor Jenkins Reid keeping The Outsiders. I think it's time. Have not looked at this book since I read it. I think I gave it 2 stars. So that's the first book gone. I do have 2 copies of Every Last Word. I have the hardback from when it first came out, and then this past year came out in paperback. So I got that as well as my favorite book, like my second favorite book ever, so keeping that. But last month I did attempt to read Little Do We Know by Tamara Irelandstone, the same author as Every Last Word. DNF'd it, I think 30 pages in. I just could not. I couldn't put myself through it. So I think kind of a one-hit wonder for me with Tamara Irelandstone. I don't think I'm going to try and read any of her other books, just because I love that one so much. Nothing's going to live up to it. So I'm going to get rid of this. Keeping All My Heartstopper here. Oh, that's going to be a nightmare to grab. I'm going to get rid of Curses and Kisses by Sandia Menon. This is book 1 in a Rosetta Academy novel. I believe this one was a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and the other books in the series are different princess retellings. I was gonna read the rest of them, but I just didn't. Also, forgot to mention, all these books, or at least most of them, will probably be on my Pango Books, which is always linked in my description of all my videos, if you want to check that out. Yeah, this is the new pretty cover. I do love this cover, but I just have not thought about this since I read it 3-4 years ago. Never gonna touch it again. So, get rid of that. I think I'm definitely gonna get rid of Tweet Cute. I did enjoy this. I think I give this 4 stars, but I just have no need to keep it. I don't tend to read young adult romance anymore. I found that out this year. I don't really like it. It's very hit and miss for me, so I just kind of stopped reading it. This was good. I think I read this last year. I enjoyed it, but I don't need to keep it. I'm not going to read it again. This one I have a bit harder time trying to get rid of it because, first of all, it is annotated. I know that. Not very much, but it is. I did enjoy this. I think it's another one I gave 4.5 stars. And I would get rid of it because I know I'm probably not going to read it again. But I bought this at Barnes, so I paid full price for it, whereas some of the other ones I got on Book Outlet when I was first getting back into reading and I had no idea what I wanted to read, so I just kind of bought everything. This I did buy full price, so I think I'm going to keep it for now. Yeah, that looks hideous, but we're going to leave it for now. So, we've arrived at the bottom of the shelf where I think we're going to do the most damage. We'll start here, because I know what I want to get rid of here. This is my dystopian shelf. Keeping Divergent, obviously, and Hunger Games. I haven't finished the rest of the series yet. Look back there, you can see my OG copies of Divergent. I am getting rid of these 3 selection books. And I am keeping the first 3 because I do want to reread them, and I did really enjoy those ones when I first read them. These ones, will never read again. I did enjoy The Heir. I think I gave 4 stars, but The Crown, I never want to look at again. This was just a collection of short stories and novellas, so it's whatever. So I'm going to get rid of these 3 and keep the first 3. I just don't need them anymore. Similar situation. I'm going to get rid of the last 3 books in the Shatter Me series and only keep the first 3 because I love the first 3. I read those in 2022, I think, like almost back to back. Didn't read a single one last year in 2023, and then I just read all 3 of these ones this year. I think I just read this one last month, and they just did not hit the same. I think I gave these 2. I know I gave this one 4 stars. This one is either 4 or 3.5. I think I gave this one 3 because I just did not care anymore at that point. I didn't really need to read them. I'm never going to read them again. If I was going to reread the series, I would just do the first 3. So I'm only going to keep the first 3 and get rid of these. Look how much space that cleared up. That cleared up like half a shelf. That's great. Moving on to thrillers. Here are my thriller shelves. This one here is mainly Frida McFadden. The Family Game by Catherine Steadman. I think I read this in 22. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. I just don't see myself ever wanting to read it again. It's very rare that I read thrillers for a second time. I just keep them if I like the author or if it was like a really good thriller. This one, I enjoyed it. Don't need to keep it though. Keeping my Frida books. I am definitely getting rid of The One by John Mars. I think I gave this 2 stars. I read this in my reading only thrillers for a week video, which honestly I think that might be the last video I posted. I didn't hate it, it's just not a thriller in my head. Like I went in thinking it was going to be a thriller, came out not thinking that at all, so I didn't care for any of the characters, so I'm getting rid of this. Controversial opinion, I didn't enjoy this that much. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. I'm just never going to read it again. Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. This one was a contender to get rid of in my last video of this that I did, my last unhaul, and I said I was going to keep it until I read the 2 other Rachel Hawkins books I had on my TBR, and if I liked those ones I would keep this one just to have a collection, but at this point I just need to get rid of it. I haven't read the other 2 yet. This was a 1 star. Another situation like the one where I went in expecting this crazy thriller and came out of it, nothing happened. It wasn't crazy at all. It was just like drama between friends. Not really thrilling at all until like maybe the last 30 pages is when the thriller really kicked in. There was just so many characters to follow. So I'm going to get rid of it. The rest of this I'm going to keep. It's Holly Jackson and then Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Stalking Jack the Ripper is over here on the end as well, but I'm keeping that. Yes, I do have 2 copies of the reprints of Rachel Price. I won a giveaway and one of them is signed. And they also have different images on the hardcover. So I do want to display one eventually. Down here on the bottom, you really cannot see, so I'll just tell you what's here. We have Heartstopper yearbook, keeping. 3 Christmas books. I think I'll keep because I did really enjoy all of them. John Green books, keeping all of them. Colleen Hoover books, I am keeping all of them because they are the ones that I have enjoyed. And then we go into fantasy, and this first one's also another controversial thing. I'm gonna get rid of Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I think I gave this 3.75 stars. I enjoyed it, but I didn't really think about it after I read it. And then I got the Ballad of Never After library ebook and tried to read it and DNF'd it after like 2 chapters. I just did not care at that point. I don't know if I was in a reading slump or I just wasn't in the mood for it, but I'm gonna get rid of this for now. And if I ever want to try to continue the series again, I will get it from the library first. And then if I end up enjoying it enough to get the physical copies, I will be getting the very pretty UK editions. I'll put a picture up here of what they are. It's like I like this Barnes & Noble edition, but I would love to have these ones displayed. So if I ever finish the series and like it, I'll be getting those versions, so I don't need this one either way. Down here is fantasy. Again, you can't see it, so I'll tell you what it is. My Trisha Levenseller collection, keeping all of them. Do I have 2 of each book in the Daughter of the Pirate King series? Yes, I do. We're not going to discuss it, keeping all of them. I also have Shadows Between Us and Darkness Within Us. Fourth Wing Iron Flame, keeping X-Hex and Kiss Curse by Aaron Sterling. Keeping for now, but something I could get rid of in the future. Mortal Instruments, Six of Crows, and then, oh, we have these guys. Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. I don't know what to say about these. I gave Daughter of Smoke and Bone 4.5 stars. I loved this book when I read it. I thought it was incredible. One of the first fantasies I read. And then I started reading Days of Blood and Starlight, and I just hated it. And gave it 2 stars. Did not want to continue. I pushed my way through this. I think I read half of it, DNF'd it, and then went back to it like a year later and just like pushed through it. And I didn't even try to read Dreams of God and Monsters. So I think I will be keeping Daughter of Smoke and Bone, but I will be getting rid of books 2 and 3 because I just don't need them. They're huge, they're taking up so much space. I see myself possibly rereading this one, and if I ever want to read the other 2, I'll get it from the library. But I want to keep this. I could see myself displaying this at some point. That is all my read books. The other ones over here on the corner are like coffee table books, so keeping those. Let's see, let's count how many books from the red shelf. Oh, no, we're not done. I have another red shelf up there. I have another shelf up here. I'll flip the camera around. Up here are my Disney related books. Majority of them are read. I think there's only a couple unread up there, so I'll pull the unread books down because I do want to put them on my unread shelf. The only ones I won't take down, Winnie the Pooh and Alice in Wonderland, I'll leave those up because I honestly don't know if I'll ever read them. I think 2 out of the 4 Marvel comic books I haven't read that I'm going to leave up there, and then the Beauty and the Beast special edition I'm leaving up there. I think the only things staying up there that I have read and I'm keeping are those 7 Twisted Tale books. I've read all of those. Keeping all of them, even though there are a couple I could get rid of that I didn't like that much, but I eventually want this whole shelf to be just Twisted Tale books once I read and collect every single one of them. I think it was like 15 or 16 at this point. Give me a second, I'll take down the things I'm getting rid of. Alright, here's what it's looking like afterwards. After I took down what I'm getting rid of, I was able to clear space to put my Daredevil Funko up there. Anyways, the things I took off of that shelf that I'm getting rid of. I don't even remember what these are called. I have not touched these in I think 3 years. The Villain series by Serena Valentino. I think these are the first 5. I've read all of these. I read the first 3, I believe, in middle school or like my first year of high school. And then these 2 I read 3 years ago and did not like them. I have no need to keep these, so I'm getting rid of them. This is another one I read in middle school. This is Beauty and the Beast Lost in a Book, an enchanting original story by Jennifer Donnelly. I think I got this and read it when the Beauty and the Beast live action came out, which was 2017? So maybe I read this first year of high school. I read this, I enjoyed it, that's why I've kept it, but not gonna touch it again, don't remember what it's about, I don't need it. And then this one, this is like a newer series within the last couple years. Lost Legends, The Rise of Flynn Rider by Jen Kalanita. And I found this because Jen Kalanita is one of the authors for the Twisted Tale series and is Flynn Rider, like a Flynn Rider origin story. And I love Tangled, I love Flynn Rider. So I read this. It was decent. It is middle grade, I believe. But this was the first of the series. And I got this, I like pre-ordered it, so I got it when it first came out. But I read it, it was cute, I enjoyed it. I'm not going to touch it again, I don't need to keep it on the shelf. And then I did move these 2 books I have not read yet from that shelf down to this shelf. Now it's time to go through and unhaul some TBR books, which could take a while. So here's the TBR shelf. Up top here we have nonfiction and literary fiction and such. Not getting rid of any of these. These are poetry books and magazines, keeping them all, and I have the Air Store book, which is a recent edition as of this weekend. These are my Lauren Asher books, keeping all of them. Just got the new version of Redeemed, so that collection is done. This shelf right here are books that I am like most interested in reading. So these are like top of the TBR. So keeping all of those. Keeping Debney Perry, keeping all of these. This one's Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. I did want to give this one a try. I did read third book in this interconnected standalone series, Shipwrecked. I read the arc of it a couple years ago. Absolutely hated it. Then after that I bought this book on Book Outlet because I've been wanting to read this one years before I read Shipwrecked and hated it. So I wanted to give this a try, but at this point I haven't read it yet. Knowing I don't really like the author's writing, I don't think I'm going to keep it. So that's the first of the TBR books done. Tell Me Three Things by Julie Buxbaum. I got this in a blind date with a book from Barnes & Noble a couple years ago. It sounded interesting when I first got it, but now haven't touched it, haven't thought about reading it, so I think I'm going to let go of it. There's just so many other ones I would rather read. Then I have this section right here of books that were gifted to me from either Valentine PR, which I think are majority of them, and then 2 of them were gifted to me from Forever Publishing. So I need to go through these and figure out which ones I want to keep and get rid of. Okay, this is Dating the Defensive Back. I was gifted this by Valentine PR, and I'm going to keep it because if there's one thing I love, it's romance. So I'm going to give it a shot. These 2 were gifted by Forever Publishing. Okay, I'm going to keep this Christmas one and try and read it this Christmas or in January, and then I'm going to get rid of 4 Weddings and a Puppy by Lizzie Shane. I just read the back. It doesn't sound super interesting to me. I'm going to pass on this one. And I'm going to get rid of these 3 books I was gifted by Valentine PR. These were all sent to me in the same package as like a Valentine's Day bundle this year, but none of them stand out to me as something I might enjoy or that I'm excited to read, so I'm going to get rid of them. Those ones, since they were gifted to me, I am probably going to put them in a little free library. Even though I'm not super interested, I paid full price for it at Barnes & Noble, so I'm going to give it a try either way. This one, I'm going to get rid of Lisa in Love by Fallon Ballard because I think it was last year I read an arc of Just My Type by Fallon Ballard and DNF'd it at like 60% because I absolutely hated the characters. Didn't love the writing either. I had bought this before I read that arc, but now after reading the arc and hating it, I just told myself I'm going to give this a try, but I just don't see myself ever giving it a try, so I'm going to get rid of it. The X Talk by Rachel and Solomon. My bestie read this either last year or the end of 22 and didn't really like it, so I doubt I'm going to like it, and I've been putting it off for far too long, so bye-bye. And then these 2, Roommate by Sarai Wilson and Love Sings by Bridget Morrissey. Complete random pickups on Amazon and Book Outlet. No idea what they're about. Have not even thought about reading them since I got them like 2 years ago, so getting rid of them. Look how much space I just cleared up. These are all thrillers and then a couple dystopian at the end. But Bad Girls with Perfect Faces by Lynn Weingartner. This is like a catfish situation kind of thriller, and I've had it for years. Kept telling myself I'm gonna read it. I'm probably not. There's so many other thrillers on here I would rather read, so it's going. Another book I've had for the same amount of time as the other one is They Wish They Were Us by Jessica Goodman. I got this before there was talk of a TV show happening, and then once the TV show was like announced and it was announced that Halsey was going to be one of the main characters in it, I was like, okay, I'm totally going to read it. Didn't pick it up. Haven't heard anything about the TV show in years, but I think I checked last month because I knew this was one I was thinking about getting rid of. So I wanted to check and see if anything was updated about the TV show, and they did recently talk about it sometime this year that it was still happening. So I'm going to keep it and hope that the TV show gets set into production like next year so then I can read this. But if not, by the end of next year, I might get rid of it. The Hunting Wives by May Cobb. I've had this for years, and I've seen people say like it doesn't really feel like a thriller. I don't see myself enjoying this. I don't see myself picking up anytime soon. So bye-bye. Alright, and the bottom shelf here are fantasy and some dystopian. The only thing I'm getting rid of on the fantasy shelf is Dreams of Gods and Monsters. I tried listening to the audiobook. First of all, I can't listen to audiobooks. I just don't think they're for me. I'm a very visual person. If I listen to something in one ear out the other immediately, and I cannot sit down and read this, so getting rid of this along with Days of Blood and Starlight. You can see we have a little bit of space open here now. My camera is about to die, so I'm gonna end this part of the video for today. Sometime later on this month I will give you an updated physical TBR. It's gonna be a few seconds for you, but it's gonna be like a few weeks for me, so see you later. Hello, welcome to the second half of this video. It is now January 3rd. I don't remember when I filmed the first half of this video, but it was definitely 2+ weeks ago, and I was waiting to film this half just in case I read any more physical books within those last 2 weeks of the year, because then they wouldn't be part of what I'm going into 2025 with. So I waited until 2025. Here we are. We're gonna go through my physical TBR that I'm taking with me at the start of this year. We're gonna count at the end and see kind of the difference from last year. I think I started 2024 with about 120 books, and I unhauled a bunch of books throughout the year. You saw in the first half of this video, I unhauled a ton of books from my physical TBR and my red bookshelf. I don't know how many books could be on here right now. I'm hoping 100 or less, or I guess at least less than it was at the start of 2024, because I haven't bought any books since the end of August. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I made a bet with my mom at the end of August that I would not buy any type of book, physical or ebook, through the end of the year, and I stuck to that. I borrowed from the library if there was a new release that I wanted to read, or Kindle Unlimited, stuck to it, didn't buy a book for 4 months, and then she owed me $50 because I completed the bet. And I did use that $50 on the first to buy 4 books. But they're ones I already read within those 4 months, so they're not added onto the physical TBR right now. That's a win in my book, I think. That gave me some time to read my physical TBR without adding to it during those 4 months. We're going to start going through these. I'm just going to tell you the name and author quickly, and then if I have something to add about the book, I will tell you. But I'm going to try and rapid fire as fast as I can. I'm going to go shelf by shelf. This is my TBR shelf. All these books are unread with the exception of 1.5 shelves, which I will tell you right now. I think I mentioned before, this shelf is my Lauren Asher collection. I've read everything here. I just needed a big shelf space to display them all because I have so many. And then above it, top shelf, is poetry books and magazines and such in that stack. And I just have my Eras Tour book. And I'm starting on this shelf. You can see right here, this little empty space. That is for the nonfiction, general fiction, literary fiction kind of books that didn't really have another category, or I didn't know where they would fit, so I just put them there. First, we have Invisible Life by Addie LaRue. I think in my 2024 physical TBR video, I said if I didn't read this in 2024, I was going to unhaul it, but I'm giving it one more year because I truly do want to read it. So, end of this year, if it's not read, I promise it will be gone. Then, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, the only classic I own besides The Outsiders, which I have read The Outsiders and it's my favorite classic. Someone convinced me to read this. I have 3 unread Colleen Hoover books, November 9th, Confess, and Heartbones. I think these are the only 3 Colleen Hoover books that I still want to read. These 2 because I think I could possibly enjoy them, and this one I don't know if I'm going to like it based on things I've heard, but I just want to give it a try to see what everyone talks about. If He Had Been With Me by Lauren Nolan, a Twisted Tale anthology. So this is from the Disney Twisted Tale series. It's just a bunch of short stories by all the authors who collaborate in this series. There's 16 short stories in here. And then I have the only 2 memoirs that I have on my shelf, which are RuPaul, The House of Hidden Meanings. This came out last year. Totally meant to read it last year with the bestie, but we just never got to it, so hopefully we will this year. And then I have Matthew Perry, Friends, Lovers, and Big Terrible Things. I bought this for my dad to read at the end of 2023. He hasn't touched it since I bought it for him, so I took it back because I do want to read it. I will be reading it and then I'll pass it back off to him. We're gonna move on to this next shelf, which is all romance except for my current read, which I'll show you right now. My current read, I did start it within the last couple days of 2024, but I didn't finish it. So it's rolling over to 2025, so it technically is part of my physical TBR for this year. That's Powerless by Lauren Roberts, but that'll be my first finished read of 2025. Alright, this next shelf is the romance books that are like the highest priority, I guess, or like my favorite authors that I just haven't read yet. So they're kind of on my radar the most out of everything. Okay, first we have Thank You for Listening by Julia Whelan, The Dating Plan by Sarah Desai. This has been with me for multiple years at this point, so I definitely need to read it this year. The Long Game by Lana Armas, What Happens After Midnight by K.L. Walther, The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy, which is the spin-off of Off Campus with the kids. And then we have Misfit by Elle Kennedy. This is another series. Couldn't tell you why I actually bought that, but you know, I have it now, so. Well Met by Jen DeLuca. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sanku Mandana. I did really want to read this year during spooky season, but it just didn't happen. I wasn't in the mood once it actually came around. I guess I'm just gonna pick this up whenever I feel like it this year. I'm not gonna wait for spooky season. It Happened One Fight by Maureen Lee Lenker. Battle Royal by Lucy Parker. Twisted Games by Anna Huang. I have 2 Lucy Score books. I've never read a Lucy Score book, so these would be the first 2 I read. I have Maggie Moves On and By Thread. 2 Ashley Poston books, Bookish and the Beast, which I've had for years, and then The 7-Year Slip, which I'm very excited to read this. Another one that I'm very excited to read, and kind of mad I didn't get to it last year, but just didn't find the time I guess, is Cross the Line by Simone Soltani. This was one of the last books I bought in August before my book buying ban started. I have 3 Abby Jimenez books, The Friend Zone and The Happy Ever After playlist. I do not have Life's Too Short, and I will not be buying it until I read these ones, just for the summer, which released last year, and I just didn't get to it. I have Grayson's Vow by Mia Sheridan. Then I have 4 Megan Quinn books I have not gotten to yet, and those are The Highland Fling, Kiss and Don't Tell, which is part of Vancouver Agitator series. I've read Those 3 Little Words. Yes, I've read that one. Vacation Wars. Then this one was released last year, Bridesmaid for Hire. There's already a second book to this, so I'm behind. Next Shelf. This one, more romance, except for these 2. These are the other 2 Disney books on my TBR. Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by Shay Earnshaw. And then this is Just the Nightmare Before Christmas, adapted by Megan Shepherd. First we have Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I did soft DNF this after 100 pages in 2023, so it's been a while since I tried to read it. I just wasn't feeling it at the time. Gonna need to give it another shot this year. Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. From Lugov with Love by Mariana Zapata. Have not read a book from Mariana Zapata yet. And then this next one is My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. One of my hyperfixations and obsessions from 2024 was My Lady Jane, the TV show. I didn't know it was based on a book, otherwise I probably would have read it first. The TV show is very much an adult show, and this is YA, the book, so I don't know how that's gonna go, but I have been saving it for the perfect time to read it when I'm really needing more content from My Lady Jane, because it was cancelled, so obviously you're not going to get more from the show. The Dating Dare by J.C. Lee. Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson. How to Break a Boy by Lori DeVore. Playing the Palace by Paul Rudnick. My Favorite Half Night Stand by Christina Lauren. The Game Plan by Macaulay Smeltzer. The Bachelor by Marnie Mann. Snowed In for Christmas by Jacqueline Snow, which I think I might try to read this as my next read. I don't want it sitting on my shelf until the end of this year. So while I'm still kind of like in the snowy Christmas mood this month, I might give this a shot. I have Dating the Defensive Bag by Lisa Suzanne. How to Fake It in Hollywood by Abel Wilder. The Stand-In by Lily Chu. Every Summer After by Chloe Fortune. Two Wrongs Make a Right by Chloe Leese. This was another soft DNF about 100 pages in. Didn't know if I was in a reading slump, just not feeling it at the time, or if I just really didn't like it, so I want to give it another shot. Fixer Up by Tessa Bailey. The last 4 books in the Edens series by Daphne Perry that I have to read. So Garnet Flats, Jasper Vale, Crimson River, and Sable Peak. I've only read the first 2 books, but I bought all of them because my mom started reading them, so she has read them. I just haven't yet. Alright, moving on this shelf. This stack over is all mystery and thrillers. 4 Frida McFadden books I haven't read yet. Never Lie, The Locked Door, The Wife Upstairs, and Dead Med. They Wish They Were Us by Jessica Goodman. Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. Sadie by Courtney Summers. Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto. None Shall Sleep by Ellie Marney. The Lies I Tell by Julie Clark. Ignore all the books just falling over back there. The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins. And then I also have The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Manscalco. This is the second book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, which I have read the first book. Just didn't continue it yet. A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham, and then I also have All the Dangerous Things by the same author. I have Nerve by Jean Ryan. This is one of my favorite movies ever, and I just haven't read the book yet. I've had this on my shelf now, I would say 5-6 years. The Guest List by Lucy Foley, and Daisy Darker by Alice Sweeney. The last ones on this shelf are sci-fi dystopian books. So I have the rest of the Lunar Chronicles series by Marissa Meyer. So Winter, which is book 4, and then I have Stars Above, which is a short story collection, and then Fairest, which is like the villain's story, and then Delirium by Lauren Oliver, which is the first book of a series. Bottom shelf, This is all fantasy, and also 2 other books that do not go there, which I just shoved there because I had nowhere else to put them. I have 2 John Green books I haven't read yet, which is Will Grayson, which is in collaboration with David Levithan. I did try to read this, I think my junior year of high school. I just could not get into it, so I DNF'd it, but I kept it. This is the Anthropocene Review. This is his most recent book. The rest of these are dystopian and fantasy. Of Catching Fire, Mockingjay, and The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I was not a Hunger Games girly in middle school. I was a Divergent girly. I watched the Hunger Games movies, and I tried to read the first book 3 different times in 6th grade, and I just could not do it, and I finally made myself do it in 2023, I think, and I just haven't had the motivation to pick these up since. But this year I definitely want to push through them before Sunrise on the Reaping comes out, because I believe that is within the next couple months, and I want to read that with everyone else. And then I have the entire Maze Runner series by James Dashner, so Maze Runner, Scorched Trials, Death Gear, Kill Order, Fever Code. Again, I love the Maze Runner movies. In terms of dystopian movie series, my list would go Divergent, Maze Runner, Hunger Games, which I think is a pretty controversial opinion, but something else I will be working on getting through this year and posting more videos in the series I started for it in 2023, which is the Shadowhunter universe. Have not read any of these in 2024 like I hoped I would. I was hoping I would get at least 1 series in the world done per year. So I was supposed to read The Infernal Devices last year, but I didn't, so I will be reading it this year. And also hopefully finishing the Mortal Instruments this year as well. So I have Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. I have read Clockwork Angel. I read this in middle school. Did not understand a single thing. Didn't continue on with the series. So I've put it back on my TBR shelf because I will be reading it again. And I remember barely anything from the book. Then the last 3 books in the Mortal Instruments series, City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and City of Heavenly Fire. I have The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, which if I don't read this year, probably will be unhauled next year. The same thing goes for A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. And another series I will be starting this year because the bestie started it at the end of last year and she's forcing me to read it, is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah Dumas. And then I have Wolfsong by TJ Klune. I bought this because of my bestie Lena. She came to Oregon and I saw her when she came and we went to the bookstore together and she told me to read this. So I got it. This is another book I soft DNF'd, I think 2023. This is Into the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. I was enjoying it, but I think I was in the book slump and I just could not get through it, so gonna try it again. I have One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. I have the next 2 books in the Zodiac Academy series. I've only read the first one. I read it either the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023, so I have very little recollection of what happens in the first book, so probably will quickly reread it before I jump into the second one, which is Ruthless Slay, and then the third one, which is The Reckoning. Those are the last books on my physical TBR. So I'm now going to sit here and rearrange things and then count them and get back to you with the final number. I'll be back in a minute. I have 105 physical TBR books at the start of 2025. Better than last year because I know I counted around 120, but I didn't count everything because I still had the Gossip Girl series and the Pretty Little Liars series on my TBR, which I unhauled earlier in 2024. That's why you didn't see it in this video. So those are off my shelves now, so that is 10 books less from the Pretty Little Liars series and 2 books less from the Gossip Girl series that I didn't count in my 120 from the previous time I did this, so it is significantly lower. Still not where I wanted to be, but it is a lot lower than it was, and for that I am happy. I set my reading goal to 75 for this year because 2024 I only read 70 books. I was in a lot of reading slumps over the year. I only read 2 books in May, and not as much as I had been for the past couple of years, so this year I also set it for 75. I'm hoping I hit 100 again this year, and that means hopefully all of these will be read, or a majority of them. I think I want to end the year with 30 books on my TBR, physical TBR. Is that ambitious? Yeah, but I'm also halfway through the year I'm gonna try and unhaul more books from here that I just haven't read yet and I know I'm not gonna get to, because I did keep a couple that I was unsure about. I don't know, we'll just see how it goes. And also this year, a big goal of mine is to only buy books, which I tried to implement last year, but I kind of went off the rails a little bit. But my goal for this year is to only buy physical books of books I haven't read if it is from an author I love or part of a series that I want to continue. And I'm going to try and read them within like a month of buying them so they don't stay on the TBR that long, which is not what happened last year. And otherwise, if there's a new book that I want to buy but I haven't read it yet, I'm either going to read it on Kindle Unlimited first or I'm going to borrow it from the library. That's the goal for this year. We will reconvene at the end of the year with the 2026 physical TBR video. I think this is probably going to be the first video I post this year. Definitely going to try and be more consistent on YouTube this year. I'm also possibly starting a small business YouTube account where I'll post small business vlogs. So if I end up doing that, I will put it on the screen here and leave a link in the description to it if you want to check that out. Not completely sure if I'm actually doing it yet or if it will be ready in time for this video going up. But next video you can expect from me will probably be my 2025 reading journal setup flip through, and I will get my 2024 reading journal final flip through ready as soon as I can. I am just so behind on my scrapbook pages in that journal and I want it to be all done before I show it to you, but I am backed up to July. It might not get done. I'm not going to be able to show you my movie and TV and music journal that I started mid-year because that is also backed up to July, and that there's no way I'm getting that done, and the reading journal. So I'll try and get that video out as soon as I can. I definitely want to get out in January, whether that means it's finished or not. The reading aspects of it, like all my stats and stuff, are done. Hopefully I will see you soon in one of those videos, and thank you for watching.